We have major breaking news today out of Washington, D.C. Senator Rand Paul has announced the committee will be voting to hold Dr. Fauci in contempt of Congress. After Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment over 80 times, the final total was something like 110, 111 times. Absolutely insane. I'll play the clips from that in just a second. But yeah, this is serious. This carries up to a year of prison time. This is no joke. This is a super, super serious charge. And if he is convicted, and there's a good chance he will be based on what he did, yeah, Fauci will be going to jail. Paul argues that Fauci does not have a Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, as Biden's auto pen pardon protects him. Therefore, Fauci can be compelled to answer questions. This is without a shadow of a doubt one of the craziest things I've ever reported on. This is just the beginning. This is the charge part, and then I'll get to some of the crazy stuff that happened. But yeah, if you're new here, subscribe. Absolutely insane stuff.
But he was subpoenaed here to testify, refused to answer any questions, even after being directed by the chair and being advised of the law requiring him to do so. He has cited a privilege that is unsupported because of his blanket pardon and because he waived the privilege by testifying at the start. I'm going to give you one more opportunity to comply with the law, limited to the period of your pardon. At any point between January 1st, 2014 and January 19th, 2025, did you destroy any federal record or tell anyone else to?
Under the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Given that you have a unlimited presidential pardon, what is your specific objection that you are making?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
My question was limited to the period of your pardon only. I find your objection unsupported and direct you to answer the question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Because you refused to answer, citing a privilege that is unsupported because of your pardon, and after being denied to do so, this committee has scheduled a vote next week on a resolution certifying your contempt.
Absolutely insane. And it's not just Republicans pushing this. I'll play you some of the crazy clips that Fetterman did. I mean, this is absolutely insane. But yeah, it's not just Republicans. John Fetterman, again, a pretty centrist Democrat, a reasonable Democrat, obviously out of the state of Pennsylvania. You can watch this clip. But essentially, he agrees, right? He regrets believing the lies that Anthony Fauci pushed, right? This is a bipartisan issue. Anthony Fauci, honestly, if Biden hadn't pardoned him, would probably be going or be in jail right now. Of course, Biden pardoned him, so we can't convict him for federal crimes, and I'll get to that in a second. For federal crimes, state crimes are still in play, committed during that period, right? So all federal crimes, by the way, I think it's completely unlimited. So if we found out that he murdered someone, I think that would also still be covered. But yeah, this is absolutely bipartisan. Here's John Fetterman, essentially expressing what I said, that he regrets believing the lies that Fauci pushed. Absolutely crazy.
It's not about much more your regrets, but I have one. And that is early on that there was the theory that the virus could have emerged from the lab. And early on that became like a right-wing kinds of theory. And I thought it seemed to make sense. Now, there was a really advanced lab that was close by, and then you have this unknown virus out. So, but that became a very partisan thing. And now it seems now it's more and more emerging theory that would have come from the lab. Now, I think that the next time our nation's facing something like this, we are not become, as I might have been, blinded by the partisan idea that maybe the truth might come from a side that's different than you are. But I think we should really be willing.
And that's absolutely right. Again, a totally bipartisan issue. The outrage people feel at Anthony Fauci absolutely is justified. Absolutely possible, without a shadow of a doubt, is justified. Here's one of the most contentious moments I think I've ever seen on the House of the Senate. Obviously, strong language, but this is one of the most contentious things I think I've ever seen. Here you go. Here's the clip.
It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people. I will make it my mission to make certain that every single one of those Democrats who did that will see that clip over and over and over again. Because there is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace. So let me ask you an opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize, to the people who you harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the dignity to just say you're sorry?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
And that's the story across the entire thing. I mean, this is one of the, I'll play this about the Florida investigation, but this is one of the most insane things I've ever seen in a congressional or Senate proceeding. I mean, the reality is, there's so many clips of this, but the reality is, this is a complete clip show, right? From, Senator Rand Paul ejecting his attorney from the building to this, which is actually absolutely nuts. Fauci has no answer to any of the questions being posed to him because if he answered, he'd probably be going to jail. Here you go. Here's the clip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, nothing says honesty like taking the fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more. Brown versus Walker, 1896. When he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. This guy can't even answer what day of the week it is. Absolutely despicable. I mean, this is a real issue, right? And this isn't about whether what he did was illegal, anything like that. No. He's being called in to answer legitimate questions about whether or not what he did was illegal. And he doesn't even have the ability to answer any of them. It is insane that this is what our country has become, given that this was at one point one of the more powerful people, in the country. And again, he has a federal pardon, but that does not mean states can investigate him. I know Texas is, and of course here is from Florida, essentially an announcement of him being investigated. I think we can see some movement on this. I think there's a high likelihood this is, pursued aggressively, given, of course, not only his behavior here, but just his general behavior over the last couple of weeks. Here you go. Here's the clip.
Back on his claims that you had to wear masks and you had to do all this stuff. So remember, Florida had a grand jury already back in 2023 where we put together a group of lay people, all walks of life, all political persuasions, and they said, yes, indeed, many of those directions to the American people were not, in fact, based on any scientific data. And even Fauci has conflicted statements throughout the time when we were dealing with COVID. So whether it's how he handled in a duplicitous way during COVID his directions and mandates of the American people, or whether it was what caused COVID and his intentions to maybe cover up the origin of COVID, I think all of that led to him seeking a pardon that goes all the way back to January 1st of 2014. And I think that was really under the microscope today, which is why you saw him invoke.
I mean,
well, and you were really trying to pin him down on some of those conflicting statements because what he said in public and what he said in his diary were two completely different things, particularly when it comes to shutdowns. He said on TV he's never advocated for shutdowns. Then he writes in his diary that he personally told New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio that he should shut down the city. You tried to pin him down on that, but he pleaded the fifth. How frustrating was it for you to just not be able to get an answer from him?
Well, it's incredibly frustrating and tragic to our country because so much at what kept Americans inside their homes, many who didn't even venture out to see loved ones dying, shut down our churches, shut down our schools, shut down our businesses. Remember, I had to litigate to open back up entire industries and win in court. Everything we did to keep Washington out of our lives in Florida, which made Florida the free state, that was really on trial today, and he couldn't answer a question because he took the fifth every time. Very frustrating.
Well, and Senator Rand Paul, the chairman of the committee, says there will be consequences for his refusal to answer questions today. They're going to vote on a resolution to potentially hold Dr. Fauci in contempt sometime next week. We will, of course, keep tabs on that.
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I think we're going to see some movement in this. I'm not guaranteeing, of course, that he will face justice and will face accountability for what he's done. I can't guarantee that. But I can guarantee that, especially after this embarrassing, tragic performance, I can guarantee that this will be actively pursued by not only Senator Paul, but Senator Moody and many of these other, probably Ron DeSantis, realistically, as governor of Florida, because it is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Again, he invoked the Fifth Amendment 111 times, despite the fact that he already had a federal pardon. Absolutely insane, absolutely ridiculous. If you're new here, please do make sure to subscribe so this video helps reach more people. I'm honestly at a loss for words. Just some of the most despicable stuff I've ever seen. Anyway, guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, please do make sure to subscribe down below if you're new. Crazy, crazy stuff. I honestly can't believe it. Fauci might not actually get away with it after all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.